Greetings Akashians, Alex Smith here from Handy Software. I'm going to give you a quick demo of some of the brand new features that we have added to HandyHost in the last month since we released into beta. And as well, we're gonna, while our Kubernetes cluster is building in real time, what we're going to do is run through kind of a breeze-through demo of the rest of the HandyHost suite, and then as well give you a million-mile-up roadmap of where we think we want to take HandyHost in the future. We've got some really exciting things in mind, a few concepts to run through that we're really excited to share with you all. In terms of the new updates that we're going to demo today, likely you've seen a lot of our videos thus far, so we're not going to be redundant with most of that. Check out our YouTube channel if you want to see kind of in-depth feature sets. But what we built in the last month, really, in observing a lot of the feedback and as well friction points with setting things up in configuration, we made a full-blown configurator for HandyHost that you can roll through really quick and set up your entire Kubernetes cluster, register your certificates, and really not get lost along the way or click a few things too early and find errors. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get us started on our demo. Thanks in advance. All right, here is my current Akash interface. Now I've shortcut a couple things here. Mainly, one of the big features is that I can plug in a USB thumb drive into my HandyHost master node, and I can configure that thumb drive with Ubuntu server version 20 latest, and then as well have all the SSH certificates and everything it needs to kind of dial back home, get a host name, and get set up. So basically, you can flash your entire cluster without ever hitting a command line. So I've already configured my 3 machines. I just finished adding my 3rd one. We'll assume that I'm a brand new user. I've come in, I've configured my USB drive, and this is what it looks like. Once it kind of registers and phones back home, it gets its name, Akash Rustic Abound Spoon, with just a random moniker, and lets us know that it's finished, and now we can finish configuring. So this is what the configurator looks like after a new user comes in. Like first time they come in, I've already configured a wallet, but brand new user would start out with configuring and adding a wallet, and then they would come to here. So this is kind of our configurator welcome screen. So a couple of the notes that we've added. You can bring your own hardware if you want to. Here's our recommended builds. Here's all the links to them. Here's some of our videos on assembling that cluster. But the main point here is hey, you can bring your own hardware, x86 hardware anyways, and set up your own cluster. Step 2, this is our thumb drive setup. So with our simple configurator, this is what our success screen looks like. So I've already run through this like I mentioned. So if you need instructions in depth, they're there. But by and large, you can detect your flash drive. You do need your password to usually flash anything onto a hard drive, of course, and then we create that. It takes 5 to 10 minutes, and we get this nice message that hey, we can set up our cluster. So at that point, we set up all our nodes. They show up here in real time. So I've set up my 3 nodes, and now we're going to continue on. Let's assume I have these 3 nodes. This is all I want. I can set up my provider at this point. And we added a lot of notes, getting really kind of wordy and what am I doing? Some people were kind of confused with domain names and all that type of stuff. So we got pretty wordy with everything you have to configure here. I've already got some of these auto-filled luckily. So West Coast. So we autofill the moniker now, so you can change that if you'd like. I'm not going to in my case. Then as well, we attach a wallet. And I've already added a couple wallets. This is my test machine. And yeah, I want this one. As you can see, we can put special characters in here and it's fine. So I'm going to select my wallet, save my configuration. Then we go on to the next screen. And this is where we kind of put it up front. Before I can build my Kubernetes cluster at all, I need to set up my provider. I've already got a certificate here, but I can go ahead and register my provider. And one of the things that people asked for as well is a link to estimate my gas and my fees. So I'm going to fetch an estimate. And one thing, one of the friction points I've seen myself, a lot of the RPC nodes that are listed, probably half the time they bring back an error with them, like the EOF error. So we'll probably be setting up, RPC request failed. So we ran into it there. But on our end, one of the things that we're going to do is roll out a few RPC nodes so that we don't have 50% failure rates, or flip a coin and see if it works. In this case, it actually went through after that second time. So we estimate the gas and fees. I'm going to go ahead and register. There we go. We successfully registered our provider. And as you can see, now our Build Kubernetes Cluster button is all available. And as well, if you noticed, we have this nice note here about which ports should you add, and how to set up port forwarding on your router. Just putting that up front. That's one of the things that people have, kind of been, a little bit of friction there on. And stuff we'll look at UPnP for pretty soon here too for everything. And then as well, we added a few notes here. Make sure you have your wildcard DNS entry set up, open up your ports, etc. So just getting really wordy in a lot of the setup that you need to do to put it up front there on people. So I'm going to go ahead and click Build Kubernetes Cluster. And now we can wait for this to build. And as well, it's going to take at least 5 to 20 minutes. It's going to verbosely log all the things here. One of the new things we added as well, if I had misset up one of these, say I unplugged it, I changed the IP address, there will be nice error messages here. There really weren't before, kind of descriptive errors saying, oh, you didn't have SSH access into this machine you brought, etc. So that's there. So now what I'm going to do is actually walk you through all the other kind of features of HandyHost that we have while this is setting up. So in my next tab over, I have Saya, and this is my Saya node. It's on a completely different machine than this. If you notice, we've got 0.63, 0.206. This is I call it my Ferrari build. My internet sucks, so you can see my host score is like a 0 of 10, but people with fiber, we have people on our team that are in the top 5 of all Saya hosts globally now with fiber, so pretty exciting. I mean, even for me, I've still managed to completely fill up my disk now, even with my slow internet speed, so never let speed be a limiting factor. But what we can see my score for any different region around the world. But as well, I can see my contracts view. These bright green ones are things that are ending within the next day worth of blocks. I can see, some of the basic stats of what I can expect to make in the next day. What have I completed? And as well, I can mouse over any of these items in the B swarm plot. I can see, they're sized by that total value plus collateral by the node size. And as well, I can see some of my earnings, what I can expect to make out of all these contracts that I have. And they go, these are about 90 days out. So in the next 90 days, I can expect to make, another like 7,000 plus Saya coin. And I've lost, one contract when my node went offline one night with internet failure. And then, my potential... my income is what I've made already. My potential is what I should make in the next month, and that'll only grow over time. Storage, like I mentioned, I've used almost my full disk space. My registry, which is like their kind of key value store, I've used only a little bit of that. Some of the other features we have, I can view my wallet where I can send and receive things. I can see all my transactions, that sort of stuff. Pretty standard stuff there. We can breeze through that. I can see how much collateral have I locked up, how much is my current balance, all that. And as well, the more important things for Saya, I can add and remove my disks. I can change the size of them, all through the GUI. I don't need to, create all kinds of new folders through command line or any other, VNC interfaces. I can just do it all from here. Hosting is one of the important parts here where I can kind of configure, we've got all kinds of suggestions all over the place. And this is the bare minimum kind of, the configuration. There's plenty of advanced settings if you want to get super nerdy in it, change your ports, all that sort of thing. So you can have multiple Saya machines on the same network. I've got a lot of people doing that. And as well, we link to our tutorials, new wallets, toggle light mode and dark mode, burn our retinas. And the cool thing that we do within HandyHost, you never really have to download and install another update. If HandyHost updates are available, I'm not going to do this one because I like to run this one on a version behind. But we can update that from here. And similarly with Akash, I can update Kubernetes if there are updates available. And with any of these, Akash, Saya, or DVPN, if there are updates to the individual components. So if you guys roll out a 0.14.1, whatever that is on Akash, it'll show up and you can update here within the app. It's kind of nice. So that's about it for Saya. Let's pop over to DVPN. This is more or less what DVPN looks like when I come into the dashboard. Again, similar features. I can create new wallets, import wallets, and that'll, wallet is always there up front if there's no wallet on the system yet. When you first log in, it's pretty convenient. And for me, I've had some data on this node. It's kind of just some test data of us rolling through things in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we display, how much on any given contract or subscription, have they used, how many sessions have they used. I haven't used this in a few days, so this stream graph, it falls off after about 2 days. So if you notice test stream graph is true, we're just looking at data. Like I fill it just to see hey, can I test this? Does it work, etc. But yeah, this is a real-time stream graph. So when you actually have people connected, you'll see blips on your stream graph, and you can interact with that and see, how much are they using? Are they always connected, etc. But yeah, the configuration is very simple. And very similar to a lot of the rest. I can choose wallets if I want to choose another wallet. And I can set my ports, set my moniker, set my price, and this is already autofilled for us. So really, all you have to do is open a couple ports. With this one, it's pretty simple. As well, advanced settings, if you want to get into them, you can, but this is the bare minimum that you need to get going. And then to kick on and off my node, it's pretty simple. We get some logs here in our log interface just so you can check things out, but to launch my node, it's not bad at all. And I can, similarly with Akash, and DVPN, we can both select this to auto launch our application on app startup. So if my machine restarts in the middle of the night, etc., I'll always come back and stay alive. But we'll go ahead and launch. And yeah, as we can see in our logs, we're starting our node. I'm not using a proper wallet. I was testing a different one. So yeah, anyway, that's more or less it for DVPN. Yeah, I'm offline. But anyway, you guys get the gist. So let's pop over back to Akash, and we are still installing. So yeah, I figured this would take a while. So a couple things that I wanted to mention here, while we have time, kind of our vision for HandyHost, right? So we've got Akash, so servers, your EC2. We've got Saya, you can think of it like your S3 or Glacier, your long-term kind of storage. And DVPN, and also Handshake, because DVPN resolves any type of handshake names. So you can think of DVPN as your VPN or your VPC kind of connection into your applications, and as well Route 53, like AWS for things like handshake names. So let's imagine one step out. We have, say that I have Audius, and I'm storing a bunch of audio files as a host, right? So I've got this cache, somebody's paying me rent on disk space to store some music assets through Audius. Now, as a user of that, I could say, colocation is going to be our kind of next big thing here. So, a HandyHost, like a, type of registry or something, vetted servers or data centers, you could think of it, right? So as like a host, I can say that, okay, I can co-locate all these services. I offer, out of all this slew of services, I offer these. And as a renter of HandyHost and a user, I can very easily say, hey, you know what, I want to spin up, an Audius node, right, on Akash. So I want to have like a streaming audio service for me and or my friends. I'm going to host this visualizer and this front-end kind of client web application on Akash through this specific person, And much the same as like we do in AWS, and we want to say, hey, host it on this region, right? Put it on, US West, US East. I want the data to be close by in case I want to pull that, right? So then I can basically say that, okay, I want to put my music on this node, on their storage. Maybe I want to use their Saya, their Filecoin, their Chaya, whatever you want for your storage. But we can co-locate all that essentially within the same data center, and at some level, kind of like you guys have with validating and signing servers and providers, we could do the same thing with HandyHost to say that, we're all actually validated on the West Coast. We are all at some tier, like we're up at 90% time uptime all the time. And, I have NVMe storage, it's RAID 6, it's all these things. Like you can have different tiers of service so that, ultimately I can get the fastest service available. So then I've got this Akash node, it's drawing this music from my specific data center, micro data center, or, my neighbor 3 doors down, whatever that is. But I can set these services up so that they're kind of within the same region. And then DVPN is going to be like the glue for a lot of this, right? Because our vision, like HandyHost, as you can tell, Handy Software, we're huge Handshake fans, right? So kind of the dream there is that, rather than like try to bring the whole internet to everybody else, let's make them come to us, right? Let's make a private internet. Like we don't care about mainstream stuff. Like we're better than that. So essentially, like I would use DVPN as a user and say, okay, I'm gonna like VPN into my own private cluster. Me and my friends, whoever I want to share this streaming music service to, we're all going to use DVPN through this provider, this host. They're going to make money. I'm going to spend very little on bandwidth, but ultimately we're connecting directly to the data center over VPN and streaming our music out. We're visualizing stuff. And as well, at the same time, I can use a handshake name. Think of like the Route 53 analogy. So then through that DVPN node, they look up, Alex's music. And, I've registered that name, that TLD on Handshake, and it's resolving to my Akash machine. And then behind that, behind the scenes, it's all kind of gluing everything together. Here's the storage, the music, the assets that go to this Akash server. I'm accessing it all securely over VPN and resolving it through a handshake name. So for us, colocation is the name of the game going forward. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's what we've been kind of preparing for the whole time. We just haven't talked about it a lot. But it's, kind of front of our brains now that we've kind of got a lot of the bases covered. Now we're thinking like, how do we build this client interface to connect all these dots together? Integrate Saya or DVPN or Handshake simply into this layer that for Akash specifically, as a renter or client, when I come into Handy Client, kind of our next step in this evolution, I'm going to be able to, configure my deployment, YAML container, all those things. But as well, I can glue in and say, okay, I want to use this Saya. Here's my credentials to access my long-term storage, set up some kind of backup plan, whatever that is. Here's my handshake name that I want to put in front of this Akash node. Here's my DVPN kind of, credentials that I want to use if I'm accessing some other server that I have behind a handshake TLD. Maybe I want to glue DVPN so that I can tunnel between, one Akash instance into another on some other different cluster or server, who knows where, right? But just kind of glue all these different components together for us. So yeah, that's kind of our vision. As you can see, our Kubernetes cluster is still just rolling along, so we're just going to let it roll along. But we cover all this in all of our other YouTube tutorials at this point, so feel free to to go and check out. Really the only other next step here is we pop into our dashboard. We can see some donut charts, and we see the volume of leases. We check out marketplace, all that sort of thing. But really the goal here today was just to show you that, hey, in just a few clicks and a few steps, in a very structured manner, we run through this configurator and get everything set up and going. So yeah, beyond that, thanks a ton for your time, for your support, for all the ideas. Like, you guys gave us some great feedback thus far. We're always super appreciative of that. More brains, the better. So, keep it coming. Thanks a ton for building Akash, by the way. Really impressed with everything. Really happy. So, high fives all around, and talk to you soon. Thanks.